Hi, in this video, we are going to be talking about how to capture a contact's consent for marketing communications when submitting a form in Eloqua. So what I have here is our Tegrita Contact Us form, pretty standard form that you may find on any website. But what you may see that's a little bit different here is that we have a checkbox that is designed to capture a contact's consent for us then marketing to them. And the reason why we have this is that there are various email regulations, privacy regulations out in the world today that require this to be a thing. And so leading by example is something that we like to do at Tegrita, so we include it on our forms. You may or may not be required to do this legally. I do suggest that you speak with your legal representation as to whether or not you need to do it. But I would also say that going into the future, this is going to be something that may become a requirement, and it's probably better to get ahead of it and just already have all these things built out ahead of time. Another important point about the checkbox is that if you are using it, you should not really be pre-populating it for contacts unless you already have their consent and you already know that they're in your database. But you don't want to pre-check this for anybody else that you may not know if they're in your database or they may not have previously given you their consent. Especially under laws like the GDPR, that's a no-no, so you don't want to do that. So once you capture this consent, it's really going to be up to you what you want to do with it. We have a whole email compliance process that we have built out that leverages this field, but I'll jump into Eloqua and show you sort of how we have that bit of our forms configured. So again, pretty standard form in Eloqua. We've got all of our contact fields and our required fields, field merges and everything. And then we've got this one that is designed to capture that checkbox. And it's configured as radio buttons here, but that doesn't really matter so much in terms of the type that we have on this backend form in Eloqua, just as long as it's capturing values coming through on the form submit in the right way and that the fields are they share the same HTML name. That's really the most important thing. And that, it's a text field is the data type. So once that information comes through in the form submission, we need to do something with it. And so as a part of our process, we have some conditional steps here that are going to be related specifically to our email compliance process. So yours may differ depending on what you decide to do with it. But one of the the values that we're writing in could be one of either explicit, no data, or refused consent. It really depends upon how the field is configured on that front-facing form. So those values mean different things to us, but I'll break them down for you really quickly. So explicit means that the contact checked the box when they came through, they said, yes, I want to consent to receiving emails from you. If we then later find out that that contact resides in a double opt-in country, we will follow up with an email to get their double opt-in and validate their consent. If they don't check the box, that's okay too. We would write a value for our process of no data, which means that they just didn't answer the question. And so we would treat that differently as a part of our process. But that's if it's a checkbox on the front end form. You may decide that you want to include a radio button instead, or a radio group. And in that case, it's either a yes or a no because you want the contact to give you an answer. So if they say no with a radio group, then we translate that into a value of refused consent, which in our process basically means unsubscribe me. So we're making sure that we're not going to email them for any reason. And it gets a little bit more complicated than all of that once you mix in the contact's country and their previous answers and whether or not they're a customer and things like that. But those are the really important pieces of this. And really the best practice here is that you shouldn't be gating any assets or anything based on the answer to this question either. So I think it's probably best practice to get a response from somebody, but still send them where they were expecting to go. And then based on the answer to that field, you're going to make some decisions about whether or not you should market to them, whether you or not you should follow up on their response, etc. So that is the quick and dirty on the request for consent checkbox that you may see on forms out there. And I recommend that you look into adding it to your forms as well.